far I've done this on my own, so why you think I can do this on my own? Up my own cash, never got a loan. In the zone is when I feel at home. So far I've done this on my own, so why you think I can do this on my own?
What up? It's your boy Anon. I'm back with another video. You know, I'm gonna try and do once a month, at least once a month. And you know, we're gonna talk about another wrestling thing. You know what I'm saying? We on the way to the Royal Rumble. We at the beginning of the Road to WrestleMania. You understand what I'm saying? So I want to just get my own booking ideas. You know, I thought it out a little bit. My own booking ideas for how we would get to WrestleMania. And this isn't, I'm not a booker. You know what I'm saying? I don't put shows together, whatever like that. This is just me as a personal person, how if I had the opportunity to write the Road to WrestleMania for the World Heavyweight Championships, which is only the World Heavyweight Championships, it's not going to be no other things. Like once a story exits the world title picture, then I kind of like brush it to the side a little bit. The main focus is the world title. So the undisputed title and the World Heavyweight Championship. Let's get it started. All right, so now we go into leading up to the Royal Rumble. We're going to have Drew McIntyre. Of course, you know, he's had these discussions in promos where he's saying like, you know, time away from the family. I got to show that it's been worth it, this and that going on. That's been something that he's been talking about in his promos. So what I would do heading into the Rumble is I would have Drew ask for another title shot. And this time Drew would say, look, if I can't beat you this last time, I'm done. I'm leaving WWE. It's over. And this kind of goes into the Drew hasn't re-signed and all stuff like that. So he puts his career on the line against Seth Rollins at the Royal Rumble. So if Drew McIntyre loses, he leaves the WWE. If Seth loses, he loses the championship. Meanwhile, while this is happening, Seth accepts, okay, you know what I'm saying, since you're doing all this complaining, like leading into it, he's going to be like, why don't you just leave? If you're having such an issue, if you're complaining, if you're doing this and that, why don't you just leave? So that's when Drew says, okay, I'm going to put my career on the line. If I lose against you again, I'll leave. While that's going on, that's the match that's set. But in the background or, you know, outside of that, Drew, Seth and Punk are still having their back and forths. They still having their issues. And Punk says that he vows that he is going to win the Royal Rumble and go to main event WrestleMania. The go home show to Royal Rumble is actually going to be out here in New Orleans. So I feel like that's going to be the perfect time for him to say, I'm going to win it. I'm going to main event WrestleMania. And this is going to be his shot at Seth, pretty much saying, I'm going to prove whether that either in his relationship or at his workplace, he will never really be the man. That's his little shot. So Seth comes and he attacks CM Punk. They have a little brawl before the Royal Rumble. Okay, now we get to the Royal Rumble. And of course, the Roman, I feel like after what happened, you know, on SmackDown, there's not going to be too much. Like, of course, there's going to be promos and certain things that's happening, but there's not too much for me to have to talk about that leads into the Fatal 4-Way. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I'm skipping over that part. So we get to Royal Rumble. We get Seth versus Drew, World Heavyweight Championship. If Drew loses, he leaves the WWE. Back and forth, hard-hitting match. You know how they get down. In the closing minute, Seth sets up for the curb stomp. CM Punk music hits. The crowd goes crazy. Seth is by the ring waiting for CM Punk to come out, but he never comes out. The music stops. Seth turns around. Claymore, 1, 2, 3. Drew McIntyre wins the World Heavyweight Championship. He doesn't have to leave WWE. After the match, CM Punk does come out, and he does something similar to what he did at Survivor Series when he returned, where he just sits at the apron, he claps, he, you know, messes around with the crowd. He does his thing while Seth just stands there mad in the ring just looking at CM Punk. Then we get later on into the show. Fatal 4-Way, Roman versus LA Knight versus Randy Orton versus AJ Styles, WWE Undisputed Universal Championship, that title. Before the match, leading up into it, of course I said that I'm not going to really lead up to it because I feel like that's kind of like the peak of what happened on SmackDown is kind of the peak of what's going to build up into it. But Nick Aldis says that it seems like Nick Aldis is kind of like, I don't care. Look, Roman, you don't intimidate me. And since you thinking that you could, I'm going to prove you, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. So he's going to try and make Roman's life miserable. So he bans the Bloodline from ringside. And if any member of the Bloodline interferes in the Fatal 4-Way match, Roman Reigns will be stripped of his championship. This is going to upset Roman. Roman's going to be like, I can't believe, like, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the vibe I've been getting, where it's just like Nick Aldis is like, I'm not scared of you. And since you want to do whatever you want to do, guess what? I'm going to do whatever I want to do type of thing. So we get into the match. Fast-paced match, you know how AJ Styles get down. You know how, you know what I'm saying, for just fast-paced, non-stop action, everybody going crazy. LA Knight gets Randy Orton into the ring. He sets up for the BFT. Roman comes in, grabs LA Knight, goes for a punch. LA Knight punches Roman. Roman, you know, falls back. LA Knight turns around, RKO. As Randy Orton gets up after RKO, AJ Styles come out of nowhere, phenomenal forearm. Then AJ Styles gets up, turns around, spear, 1, 2, 3. Roman retains. After the match, if you smell, boom, Rock comes out, gets into the ring. him and Roman face off in the middle of the ring, crowd going crazy, and we're going to do Roman versus Rock Elimination Chamber in Australia. The reason why I feel like they should do it in Australia is because it's a big event. It's probably going to be the biggest Elimination Chamber of all time. How do you make the biggest Elimination Chamber of all time feel like the biggest Elimination Chamber of all time? The Rock versus Roman Reigns in the main event. I just feel like it just has to happen. It's a stadium. It's not just a regular arena like the other Elimination Chambers. This is a stadium. So if you want to pack a stadium, and there's rumors that Australia said that we will do the show out here if you can promise us that The Rock will be there. So that's why I'm thinking Roman versus Rock is going to have an Elimination Chamber. You may not want it. You may feel like it's a WrestleMania thing, but the venue that's holding Elimination Chamber is a similar size to the venue that's holding WrestleMania, if I'm thinking correctly. So why does it matter? We're going to see regardless. Later on, we get to the Royal Rumble match. The final 3 people. I got Gunther, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk. Gunther gets taken out in the corner. He lays. He sells out in the corner. And now it's Cody Rhodes and CM Punk doing a face-off. And then Seth Rollins' music hits. Seth Rollins calls running to the ring, going after CM Punk. CM Punk slides under the ropes, so he doesn't get eliminated by getting outside the ring. He slides under the ropes. Him and Seth Rollins getting a back and forth brawl. Security and the producers, all that, they come separate him, bring Seth Rollins back to the back. CM Punk gets in the ring. He turns around, clothesline, gets eliminated by Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is shocked. He's like he can't believe it. Next thing you know, Gunther comes up, scoops him, and Gunther wins the Royal Rumble. Because I believe Cody Rhodes and Gunther was the last 2 last year. So now Gunther wins the Royal Rumble. Now we post Royal Rumble. Roman Reigns is going to defend his championship against The Rock at Elimination Chamber. That will be announced. And then there will be a 6-man Elimination Chamber match. And the winner faces whoever wins the match between The Rock and Roman at WrestleMania. Cody and Jey Uso reveal that they've been traded to SmackDown and they have been swapped with the Street Profits. Now, it's actually relevant to everything, but it's not relevant to everything. Because they've been traded to Street Profits, for the Street Profits, which Bobby Lashley has kind of took them under his wing, this creates tension between Cody Rhodes and Bobby Lashley, which can lead to something down the line. You understand what I'm saying? After that, we do Elimination Chamber qualifying matches, and after everything is done, it's LA Knight, Randy Orton, AJ Styles, Bobby Lashley, Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes in Elimination Chamber. Winner faces the winner of the Rock versus Roman match. Also, Elimination Chamber, we get Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins versus CM Punk for the World Heavyweight Championship. Seth Rollins feels like he deserves a rematch, but him and Punk's feud isn't gone. They still at each other's throats. So Adam Pearce feels to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. He's going to do a triple threat match between CM Punk, Seth Rollins, and Drew McIntyre for the championship. Now, we got to remember, the reason why I'm booking stuff like this is because, like I said before, this is a big pay-per-view. They're going to mark this as a big pay-per-view, so we need Elimination Chamber with all the biggest stars on SmackDown. A triple threat match with Punk. Like, this is to pack the stadium in The Rock versus Roman. Like, this has to feel like the biggest pay-per-view. You understand what I'm saying? We get to Elimination Chamber. We start off with the Elimination Chamber match. I don't feel like they're going to have the main event. The Rock and Roman is obviously going to main event. So I feel like the Elimination Chamber match is going to be either at the beginning or maybe in the middle of the card. A regular hard-hitting Elimination Chamber match. Final 4. Randy Orton, Cody Rhodes, Bobby Lashley, Jey Uso. Randy Orton sets up for RKO on Jey Uso. Jey Uso reverses it and pushes Randy away into a spear by Bobby Lashley. Bobby Lashley eliminates Randy Orton. Bobby Lashley and Jey Uso go back and forth. Boom, boom, boom. Cody gets in the ring. Jey Uso hits a super kick on Bobby Lashley into the into the crossroads. Bobby Lashley eliminated. Now we get Cody versus Jey Uso as the final 2 in the Elimination Chamber. They shake hands, show respect. Back and forth for a few minutes. Then, just like Sean HBK versus Undertaker, as Jey Uso gets the upper hand, Jimmy Uso comes in through the Elimination Chamber floor. Super kick is Jey Uso. Cody Rhodes in shock, but he has no choice. He pins Jey Uso and he wins the Elimination Chamber, and he's going to WrestleMania to face whoever the champion is. Now we get to Seth versus Punk versus Drew. Fast-paced, hard-hitting triple threat match. The main story is that even though it's for the World Heavyweight Championship, it seems like the hatred between CM Punk and Seth Rollins is a little bit stronger. Like they care more about hurting each other than they really do about winning the title, and that's what kind of costs them the match. They become a distraction to each other. Seth Rollins is punched away on CM Punk. All of a sudden, he gets hit with a Claymore. 1, 2, 3. Seth loses the triple threat match. I'm making Seth lose the triple threat match so Punk, after the match, after it, can point out, you're the reason why you don't have that title no more. You could keep saying it's my fault, but you got pinned at Royal Rumble and you got pinned in the triple threat match, so you can't blame nobody but yourself. Which ties back to what Seth kept telling to Drew when Drew kept losing. This leads to Punk versus Rollins at Mania Night 1. It's not going to be in the main event because in storyline, Punk cost Seth Rollins a shot at the main event of WrestleMania, and Rollins cost Punk a shot at the main event of WrestleMania. So neither of them are main event of WrestleMania because each of them are the reason why they're not main event of WrestleMania. Because I think that's on Seth Rollins' wish list too. Besides his cash in at was it 32? His cash in over Brock and Roman Reigns. I don't think Seth is main evented or WrestleMania. So they could say, hey, we both want to main event WrestleMania and we can't do it because of each other. I could be wrong. Seth might have main event WrestleMania, but I don't remember him doing it. I feel like it's always been Roman Reigns for the most part. Also, Drew officially in storyline re-signs to WWE because, you know, that's been the rumor. Drew hasn't re-signed. There's no updates on him re-signing or whatever like that. I feel that Drew did re-sign similar to the MJF thing where they re-signed, but they kept it under wraps for storyline and for intrigue in storyline. So I feel like Drew re-signed a long time ago and it's just been kept under quiet to make the storyline mean a little bit more and to add a little more intrigue around Drew McIntyre's character, which is why they play with the, if just leave if you getting tired of it. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, his thing's going up, he might lose because he hasn't resigned yet. You understand what I'm saying? Okay, now we get to Rock versus Roman. It's going to be very typical Rock versus Hogan vibes, very electric, you know, back and forth. The Rock isn't the best in-ring worker, so The Rock has to lean on his charisma and stuff like that to carry a match. Roman in ring is a better wrestler than The Rock. People may say, oh, Roman, this and that, but if you will go over the period of time, Roman is actually a good wrestler. He's not a bad wrestler. It's just people kind of, you know, put him in that box for whatever reason. But Roman is a good wrestler, so he can carry The Rock a little bit, kind of similar to John Cena carried The Rock a little bit. Roman Reigns can carry The Rock to a decent, to a good match. I don't have no bloodline interference. What I have is that they bring up in storyline, The Rock hasn't wrestled in a ring in a long time. The Rock hasn't been on a big stage wrestling in a long time. Roman Reigns has been on a run for 4 or 5 years. How can The Rock stop that momentum? Like, there's so much going against The Rock that Roman beats The Rock clean because I have way more experience in big time because technically Roman Reigns has been a WWE main eventer longer than The Rock. The Rock only was a main eventer for a few years compared to Roman, who's been a main eventer for about 10 years. That goes into play. He has more experience in the ring than The Rock. He's been in the big time longer than The Rock. You know what I'm saying? These things plays into why The Rock can't beat Roman Reigns. All right, now that's over. We heading into WrestleMania. So if y'all want to know how I would do the Jay versus Jimmy Uso thing, y'all could comment below and ask me to try and book Jay versus Jimmy at WrestleMania. But like like I said, once it gets away from the title picture, I don't really reference it as much because now that feud is separate from the title picture. Drew has not held the title for a few months, but his heel character has slowly become a tweener character, like because he isn't a full heel. His actions have been justified the entire time. I think that's the direction they're going, where we're not going to make Drew a full babyface, but we're not going to make him a full heel. He's going to do heel things, but it's going to be justified, which kind of puts him in that tweener category, which can lead into something that I'm going to talk about later on. This opens up for Royal Rumble winner Gunther, who is a full heel, to let Drew know, you've never beaten me. I'm the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time, and I will be the World Heavyweight Champion at the end of WrestleMania. As Gunther says this, Chad Gable interrupts and says, yes, Gunther, Drew has never beaten you, but if you look at the record books, I've beaten you twice. And that references the count-out victory and the beat the clock challenge that Chad Gable won. Gunther emotionally decides to put his IC title on the line one more time in the main event against Chad Gable. Get another classic match. It ends when Drew McIntyre takes out Ludwig Kaiser and Vinci backstage and they get showed on Titantron. This distracts Gunther. Chad Gable hits him with the Chaos Theory. And in the main event, Chad Gable beats Gunther and becomes the new Intercontinental Champion. Gunther links up with Imperium and says that their weaknesses has cost him his title and he wants nothing to do with them unless they make up for what they've done. This goes into a few weeks down the line. Gunther gets his rematch against Chad Gable, where Ludwig and Vinci try to interfere to help Gunther, but Drew McIntyre comes out, take both of them out, and Chad Gable once again wins and retains his Intercontinental Championship. Gunther decides he's done with Imperium, as Drew tells him, you can't challenge me and ignore me at the same time. If you want me, come get me. Because even though Gunther has challenged Drew for the World Heavyweight Championship at WrestleMania, he's been focused on the Intercontinental Champion for the past couple weeks. So Drew is like, hey, you either want this title or you don't. Don't say you want to face me, but you trying to avoid me. Move over to SmackDown. Cody is on SmackDown. He said that he had to go through Beast, Judgment Day, an insane Japanese legend, War Games, Elimination Chamber. He's beaten and bruised his body, all to get back to what he felt he was destined to be a year ago. That same family that cost him the championship last year is their inner fighting and their turmoil and their toxicity is what may cost Roman his title this year. This goes into Jay versus Jimmy, which I would throw Solo in there, which means all three of them are kind of taken away from the Cody Roman story because they're so focused on each other. That's why I'll put Solo in there, and we do, I would say, a triple threat match between them three. Because even though Jay and Jimmy is the story, I feel like Solo is the story, but I have a twist in my mind, how I would book it. I would have a twist that kind of, you know what I'm saying, make certain things happen. Roman comes out, Roman says he is the greatest of all time. He's laid out a phenomenal one, a megastar, a legend killer, and a great one without his bloodline interfering, and it would be nothing for him to smash Cody Rhodes in the main event of WrestleMania again. All right, we get to WrestleMania. Gunther versus Drew McIntyre, hard hitting back and forth. Drew sets up for the Claymore in the corner. Ludwig Kaiser pops up out of nowhere, grabs Drew McIntyre's leg, similar to the Bloodline match. Drew gets distracted. Gunther hits it with a big boot into the powerbomb. Gunther wins the World Heavyweight Championship as Kaiser, Vinci, and celebrate with him. Drew can't believe it. Drew can't believe that once again he's been screwed out of a World Heavyweight Championship in the main event of WrestleMania. This creates sympathy for Drew, and as this badass queen who now vows to make Gunther's life a living hell post-Mania. So I feel like similar to Stone Cold back in the day, Stone Cold never held the title for a long period of time because he was better at chasing the title. So I feel like having Drew hold the title for a few months and then getting screwed out the title, he can still be this badass person that's justified and he's just beating people up and just doing whatever. But now there's more sympathy because it's like, okay, you have the right to do this because you got screwed out of your championship again. You understand what I'm saying? So now that makes him a face, but he does heal things at the same time, which will put him in the tweener category, which I think will help him get even more big and even more over and make him more of a Scottish Stone Cold in a sense. And he looks the part, so kind of giving him that edge where he's beating up Ludwig Kaiser, he's beating up anybody and everybody gets in his way, he's going after Gunther. We get to Roman versus Rhodes. Back and forth match. Roman dominates in the closing minutes until Cody turns it around. Cody starts setting up for the crossroads. Paul Heyman gets on the apron to distract Cody Rhodes. Roman gets up, goes for Superman punch. Cody moves out the way. Roman hits Paul Heyman with the Superman punch. Roman is shocked. He turns around. Cody cutter into the crossroads. 1, 2, 3. Cody Rhodes wins the WWE Undisputed Universal Championship. He finishes the story. He doesn't have the bloodline out there to help him, so that inner fighting of the bloodline has become much of a distraction to where Roman was left alone to defend his championship. Paul Heyman, emotions and anxiety, because you see in Roman Reigns matches when Paul Heyman just is like, he's like super nervous whenever he feel like Roman might lose the title. So I feel like that part of Paul Heyman is what also costs Roman the title. Confetti rings, Cody Rhodes holds the title up. Confetti comes out the sky. WrestleMania 40 goes off the air. Cody finishes the story. It's a big moment. Hugest moment. You know what I'm saying? That's it. That's how I would book the World Heavyweight Championships heading into WrestleMania 40 or through WrestleMania 40, the Road to WrestleMania. How I would book the Road to WrestleMania for WrestleMania 40. Some people are going to be like, oh, too many title switches. Even though it's only one title switch. Seth lost the title and then Drew lost the title. So it wasn't that many title switches. The titles kind of elevate certain storylines and then you can pull them away to where they still feel big once you get to the blow-offs for them. You know what I'm saying? To where it's just like the Seth Punk thing, the world title it doesn't have to be for the world title, but if it's around the world title, it kind of makes it seem like a bigger deal because this is what it was all about. And now it's done got surpassed that to now it's just like, hey, look, I just hate you, bro. I just want to beat your ass. You know what I'm saying? And it's a big match regardless. You know what I'm saying? So that's just how I would do it. Like I said, if you want me to do one similar to how I would finish the Jay and Jimmy story, then I could do that. And then some ideas for what I would do with Cody once he wins the title. I'll try and do that. Like I said, some things that happened in this Road to WrestleMania is going to lead into it. So Cody Rhodes traded himself to SmackDown for the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley being upset about that. That's going to tie into, I would do Bobby Lashley versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship. Like I said, I would have Solo Sikoa put himself into the Jimmy thing, and I would make it. I would make it a handicap match. If we're just gonna talk about it, I would make it. I'm still thinking about it, but my mind is telling me Solo Sikoa and Jimmy Uso versus Jey Uso. Make it a handicap match, and then before the match started, we do something similar to what Brock did to Cody the year before. Solo turns on Jimmy, so now he has to face Jay on his own, and then this goes into the whole Jimmy turned on the bloodline before and then tried to weasel his way back, and you know what I'm saying. So I will have Solo turn on Jimmy. So now the bloodline story kind of continues, but now it's like Jimmy's got ousted. His other brother don't like him. None of his brothers like him. So now he's kind of on his own. So now the bloodline technically is Roman, Solo, and Paul Heyman. But Paul costs Roman the title. So now it's this bickering between Paul Heyman and Solo and Roman. Where were you, Solo? What's going on? You didn't fight in the match at Mania. So you had no reason not to help me against Cody. Like, I just feel like it could be super convoluted. But I feel like that leads into more stuff after Mania that could take the title away from Roman. Now it leads into the final breakdown of Bloodline. Now we could do Roman versus Solo, or Jimmy versus Solo, Jay versus Solo. Like, we can do all these things once the title gets taken away from him, and there's reason for everything to happen. So that's just how I would do it. But if you want more videos like this, like, share, subscribe, comment what stories you want me to go more in depth on that existed in here, or something else that y'all want me to do. It's just something I just decided to do. I've been thinking about it. This isn't what this channel was going to be, but, you know, if I feel like talking about wrestling, talk about wrestling. If I want to talk about rap music, talk about rap music. If I want to talk about life, we can talk about life. You understand what I'm saying? But that's it for me. I'm out.
On my own, so why you think I can do this on my own? Up my own cash, never got alone. In the zone is when I feel at home. So far I've done this on my own, so why you think I can do this on my own?